clearly called out in one of the documents is that AMD thinks the 6090 is launching in early to mid 2027. And welcome to Broken Silicon, a gaming hardware podcast. This episode is brought to you by JLC PCB, which is offering $10 coupons for their Flex PCBs in the links below. And then also in the links below, you can find CDkeyoffer.com, who is offering 25% off Windows 11 Pro with code Broken Silicon. Dan, how are you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm good. My girlfriend was gone this weekend on some family girls weekend, and so I took the motorcycle out and rode around the countryside for a couple hours.
Did some boys time with the motorcycle?
Yeah, boys time in that it's just boy, not plural. Just me listening to Comedy Bang Bang, where I go past a bunch of rolling hills with horses on them.
Some of those horses were boys too, Tom. So
that's true. It is boys time with them. I also did see some cats just chilling by the entrance to a park. Just like with their legs out like this, like, what do you want? And I guess those could have been boys too.
We don't know, but we do know that, Tom, you got to motorcycle around without the old ball and chain.
The old ball and chain dragging out the back of it. Speaking of enjoying the summer, though, we play a voicemail here from Techno, which, of course, you can submit if you support us on Patreon.
So as Scotland goes through its weekly transition between summer and winter, as we've just dropped basically 20 degrees from like 26 degrees, and it reached a low of 6 today in Celsius. I don't know what that is in like Fahrenheit. I do apologize.
It's freedom units, my friend.
As Scotland continues to go between boiling hot and freezing cold, what would you say your favorite drinks are, both for summer and winter?
No, I actually have two things to say to this, having listened to this. Number one, it was a cooler than usual day for this month in Nashville at 90 degrees Fahrenheit. 26 Celsius is 78.8 degrees Fahrenheit for the record. So I just want to say, again, I'm not hating here, but me and Dan, no. Dan's hating because me and him joke about this behind the scenes all the time. And to be fair, I understand why there's this issue. It's because the infrastructure in different countries is built for certain temperature ranges. But every now and then you'll just see in like England or Scotland, you know, someone like, oh, it's record. We don't know what to do. The roads are falling apart at 85. And I'm like, I was just riding my motorcycle above 90 for hours, but it's just what we're used to, you know. But
hey, but you got the wind in your face with the motorcycle at least.
That's true. I will say
very hot wind.
When I stopped, well, it actually was pleasant while I was going like 50 or 60. But the second I slowed down, it's like I need to pull out the water bottle immediately. To be fair.
As you immediately start sweating when you stop.
Just immediately start sweating anytime I stopped. But honestly, my answer is light percentage beers, which I will give credit to Europeans, especially in Germany, where I wish there were more options for low percentage beers here, because I'll have like a shandy that's 2 to 3%. I got so happy when I found that and like knew which brand to go for. Like Mississippi Blonde is one of my favorite beers I get anytime I go through Illinois. It's like 4% or something. But I wish there were more 2% because I'd like a slight buzz, something cold and refreshing. I don't need to get effed up during the afternoon on a weekend. Just give me the lightest buzz you can. That's a cold drink. That's what I like.
And a lot of the time, those lighter options are like a Bud Light, which is kind of just they took Budweiser and I don't know, I think added water to it. I'm
just
pretty sure that's how you get a Bud Light.
And swash it around a little bit. That's what that tastes like. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if anything besides super light beers, Dan, what is your preferred summer drink?
I mean, this time of year, drinking lots and lots of water if it's not a beer, honestly.
So yours is just water.
Just water or beer.
Again, but you're in the United States where it's like 85 to 90 often.
And very humid.
In the Midwest,
right
I should
now.
say, too.
Yeah.
Oh, just ridiculously humid right now. Well, that is our answer, Techno. Moving on to more serious stuff with corrections, which, again, you can submit if you support us on Patreon. Luvite writes in and says, in June's loose ends, you mentioned that the SSD reliability concerns were simply a myth. And I have to say, I don't agree. Early SSDs did have big reliability issues. Around 2010, the company I actually worked for started to roll out SSDs in developer machines for checking out projects. However, hard drives were still used for the operating system, as we saw solid-state drives often fail within 3 to 6 months of heavy use. This was before trim was supported across driver file system and devices. Once trim support was properly implemented and enabled, though, the reliability of SSDs basically became a non-issue for the lifetime of machines. I have an issue here. I actually was interested in, the insight you gave us there. I appreciate that. But my point bringing up the SSD myth is that there were people that were not using early SSDs for this. When I say early, I'm talking really more like 2011 through 13, where people were concerned about the issue that eventually the SSD would technically be a read-only device, whereas technically on paper hard drives could last forever, even though we all know they'll break within 5 years of heavy usage because it is a physical disk that will break. And, even back then, it took heavy usage like you're talking about, but I'm talking about now. And that's the comparison I made in that loose ends to OLED. Like, I've never had OLED burn in my life. I said, I'm sure if you use it with a static image constantly 5 years ago, that's an issue. But you really got to be trying to break most high quality OLED displays for them to break anymore. And it's the same with SSDs. Yes, SSDs used to have these issues. Yes, OLED had this issue 10 years ago, but even 5 or 6 years ago, it really was starting to not become an issue. And by now, I do think that, again, I wouldn't call it a myth. I hope I didn't use that word, but I would say it is a obsolescent concern is there. If I want to get pedantic and be exactly right in my wording.
I do feel like a lot of the time the tale of concerns about a technology or whatever, or a problem with the technology people have, it just extends years beyond when it's actually reasonable for people to still care about them, where it's 10 years later or whenever, or even when we're talking about driver issues, AMD drivers haven't had issues for years really, and it's still a persistent thing online that people bring up whenever you talk about it.
And again, it's one that seems to have been perpetuated successfully by Nvidia back in the day, because Nvidia during the Vista era actually had less reliable drivers than AMD. But whatever, it sticks. And I would just say all graphics drivers run reliable before 2010. Let's just be honest. They suck. They're just terrible compared to now. And that just sticks with it. I don't know what another example of that would be, but there are a lot of these zombie things in PC gaming where people think this is an issue. They just keep assuming it's an issue, and then it just doesn't go away. I mean, another one I could come up with is the CPU temperature thing, where I guess most devices were built to not go over 80 degrees Celsius. Some of them, like AMD, would build CPUs where they would have issues above 70 degrees Celsius. But that's if that specific CPU was built that way, and that is how they all used to be built. Now they're basically all built to hit 100 degrees Celsius, pretty much across the board. And as long as that is how they were built, you should not. And not to get into it, but I've had to deal with people, because I sometimes build PCs and sell them, where they're like, hey, this CPU, which is some compact ITX thing, this is hitting 85 degrees. This is unreliable. I'm like, it's supposed to hit up to 95. This is fine. And they're like, no, I'll never buy anything with this. And it's like, well, then you won't buy any.
Well, then you don't get a new part.
Because especially not Intel, because they're going above 100 sometimes. I mean, again, it's a zombie thing.
That actually might be an issue, though, with some Intel parts. So...
Well, I think it's mostly the voltage stuff, but
true.
All right. Let us now move on to the first story, which I was going to make one of the later ones, but I thought, look, this is the biggest story of the month in PC gaming hardware, I think. Let's make the first story the story you all want to hear us talk about, because I really do have more thoughts on this and some more details, I would say, as well, with story number 1. AMD RDNA 5 specs, performance, and release time frame leaked. For the past couple of months, amidst an unprecedented amount in detail of AMD CPU leaks, we received questions a lot as to when RDNA 5 leaks were going to come out. Actually, I cut a question, Carbon Cry included, showing what's his name from I Think You Should Leave going, oh, really? Because of the question
sure about that?
You sure about that? That was the gif of why, I think it was someone who wrote it and said, why are you not having RDNA 5 leaks? Isn't it? It seems like they're better at concealing these things. And to my memory, Dan, me and you said in a recent episode, wait until the end of the year before you say that. And sure enough, a month later, we have all of this. And As it turns out, in a recent video, we confirmed that there are at least 2 dies for RDNA 5, AT0 and AT2. AT0 is an AI GPU for data center and AI researchers, but just like NVIDIA's top gaming die, which would be what they use for the 5090, it's going to be heavily cut down for gamers, even though it's clear being cut down that this could still be something that goes for the crown, as it might go for the 1690 and beat it with 154 compute units, 36 gigabytes of GDDR7, and 1.7 terabytes per second of bandwidth. For those keeping track, by the way, that is nearly 3 times the bandwidth of the 9070 XT. AMD certainly, therefore, though cutting this chip down from the top chip that, by the way, probably goes up to 192 cores and like, I don't know what it was, like 2.5 terabytes per second. It is a ridiculous amount of bandwidth. They're still not aiming low at these specs. Also listing 380 watts for thermal board power, which infers that this could leave a lot of headroom for overclocking, or frankly, for AMD to choose to overclock it more, as one of the AI variants, by the way, is listed as up to 600 watts. I did see that discrepancy on some websites saying this could hold AMD back, only going up to 380 watts. I'm like, if they want to, that's their plan. If they want to hit 600 watts and melt your cables like NVIDIA wants to, they have a 600 watt option. It's clearly labeled anyways, though. In addition to AT0, there's also another die, AT2, the more purpose-built gaming die. And actually, this was something already leaked in Magnus. That's right. With 70 compute units in total and up to 64 enabled, this will be AMD's mainstream GPU, but then also possibly be used, we'll talk about this again, with other APUs, which they expect to bring RTX 5080 performance with it to the mid-range. And also, this was leaked in the video, targeting $550 or less. So, yep, it has a media die for video out that then connects to a 264 millimeter squared compute unit and memory controller die. Further, I've seen reference to an AT3 die. I don't have any details on it. I do speculate. I wonder if an AT3 die could be paired with Medusa Point or something to add, make a more powerful, like little Halo setup. Again, pure speculation. Don't report that. Also, I've also heard there could be an AT1 die, but I would suspect
or do
that
report it that as a leak these days. I
don't know. Well, I don't want to get into it. I keep derailing myself. Some of the reporting on recent stuff out of this channel is just, I was joking with Jimmy Champagne, who was recently on, and he was saying, Tom, they really didn't report on your leaks very accurately. In fact, they didn't even spell my name right. Like awesome. One website reported on Jimmy Champagne, spelled his name wrong. Every other copy pasted and just used the wrong spelling. So
that's good.
That's my rant on the reporting on some of this now. So that's why I'm excited to talk about this, to set the record straight. And finally, AMD wants to get these GPUs out in 2027. All right, then. So now to be clear, there's still a lot we don't know. For example, if the top die is truly monolithic, besides, of course, having a media die, it has at least 192 compute units and a 512-bit bus for the top AI card. That would be absolutely massive, maybe nearing the 3-nanometer reticle limit, although I do believe this is monolithic besides the fact that it has a media die. Another wild card is Infinity Cache. Surprisingly, I've heard nothing about it for Navi 5 products. I know it will have L2 cache, so maybe they've done something with a cache hierarchy. It's been redesigned in such a way with how much bandwidth they have with GDDR7. They just don't think they need Infinity Cache this time around, which is actually what I think is most likely what's going on. And finally, we also don't know other details of the architecture. You know, will the matrix or tensor compute be beefed up? Ray tracing is supposed to be wildly better. We don't know how much better, though. Will AMD add more shader cores per compute unit? Because they seemingly got dual issue working with RDNA 4. Even with these open questions, though, we see the fruits of UDNA here. Using a gaming GPU for AI is the reason AMD is developing AT0. And since the planned gaming variant is significantly cut down, if AMD really wants a Halo, they could probably release something 20% stronger or more than the 190 XT that was detailed here. Again, placeholder name. I don't think that's what it will be called. And so there you have it. AMD is not messing around with RDNA 5. Of course, it is very early, so the exact specs of the game GPUs could change. But for now, we know what AMD is planning, and it is not something small. And on a side note here, I do want to add this as well. Clearly called out in one of the documents is that AMD thinks the 1690 is launching in early to mid-2027. So I just think we can also take this to have another little leak here. I think the 1690 is launching 2027. A little disappointing for me.
They delayed a little late, right? Like 6 months late, right?
No, that'll be 2 years after, basically. Think about it.
Okay. Oh, yeah, true.
They delayed the 5090 and RDNA 4, and I think we were hoping that well, because those were delayed, the next thing will be a year and a half later. Nope.
No.
I guess they just want to launch early in the year. Frankly, from a business perspective, launching your new products in the beginning of a year probably makes a ton more sense. But I don't know. A little disappointing there, but there you go. So I don't know. A lot here, Dan. What do you think?
Maybe for once instead we'll have a busy earlier instead of busy September, like what always seems to happen for the past few cycles.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're still going to be launching like Zen 6, at the end of next year. Very end, though. But
spreading it out. Hey, I'm fine spreading that out instead of having
at the end of the year, upgrade your GPU in the morning. I like that more. Anyways,
yeah.
But anyways, what do you think of this?
Well, Tom, so do you think the rumors that AMD is, or not rumors, constant speculation that AMD is forever getting out of high-end GPUs is false then?
I do not. I think that's just absolutely ridiculous that we saw that. Again, this is fear-mongering. You saw some of the fake leakers trying to do clickbait as well. Hopefully they weren't rewarded. I don't know how many views they got, but it's just pathetic. It's just doesn't even pass the common sense test. Guys, the 480 didn't go for the crown. The 580 didn't go for the crown. Vega went for the crown, failed. RDNA 1 didn't go for the crown. RDNA 2 did. RDNA 3 kind of did. RDNA 4 did not. I mean, AMD goes for the crown every other gen, kind of, or maybe 2 out of 3.
I mean, if you're looking at the long trend, yeah, it's not every other gen, but that's about what it averages out to.
It averages out to about every other gen. So at no point did I think, AMD was done with high-end GPU when RDNA 4 came out. I thought, oh, well, another RDNA 1 time.
Especially when all of the money these days is in high-end GPUs, just not for gamers.
Exactly. It just didn't make sense. They made a easy to manufacture, cost optimized die that could barely hit high-end performance, spit it out with GDDR6, and now they're doing the opposite. They're going completely all out this time, it seems. And they're doing what this is something I speculated on. Now we see correctly for a while, which is they need to have this gaming architecture also be for AI, because then they can justify a top-end gaming card, because the top-end AI card can do gaming.
Well, hell,
without that, it never makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, and that's even to an extent how Nvidia's going these days. So it's just AI is everything. So
yeah,
AMD. I mean, unless this bubble burst before this comes out, yeah, AMD needs to justify this
for compute, and
yeah, and to some extent, AI is going to be around forever, even when the bubble bursts. Like it's probably going to be like the .com bubble, where the internet didn't go away after the .com bubble.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and so anything else to add about this? I would say another thing I've seen that I want to address is a lot of people thinking AMD is crazy for potentially going with a 70 compute unit die and then going all the way up to a 192 or whatever it is, 200 compute unit die. And I would say, technically, I do know that there has been some groundwork for an AT1. So who knows? Maybe there will be some 256-bit 96 CU thing. Having said that, I want to posit this argument here. How should you design a lineup? Should you design it top to bottom, making sure everything's perfectly spaced apart? Well, maybe if you're Nvidia, where you sell tens of millions of GPUs a quarter, if not a month, because you're going to want to service so many different things that it works to just have 4 or 5 dies all the way up the stack evenly. However, if you're someone like AMD that can't afford to make tons of things, then it would make more sense, in my opinion, to just surgically strike 2 parts of the market that are the most important and stop. Hear me out, everybody. We're about to get to this with Magnus, but what they have with AT2 is something that should increase performance over the 9070 XT 10 to 20%, with much more than that in ray tracing, I would suspect, and go from like $600 with the 9070 XT to maybe $500. That is a mass market card that, if put into other devices, will get it even more driver support. That's it. That's what most gamers want. Most people don't need something stronger than a 4090. It might be just around a 4090 for $500. No one needs more than that. And then what's the other thing people want? No, not crappy $200 cards that are sold at a loss by Intel and then that you go bankrupt. The other thing people want is something crazy strong. So then you make that, and that's it. And just remember, the top gaming card will be cut down quite a bit if they really let me like I only saw on the document one planned gaming top die. I think it's conceivable that will be the 90 XT, and then there actually will be one slightly more cut down from that's clocked lower. Well, so imagine if there's also one above this 70 XT I leaked, like pushed to the limit with clocks, kind of like the 7800 XT. You could see a situation where something 10-20% stronger than the 64 compute unit model, something 10-20% weaker than the 130 or 154 compute unit model. You get to about a 30 to 40% gap in performance actually there. That's the same gap that you see between like the 9060 XT and 9070. Like it's not a crazy gap.
In one generation, you might see a slightly larger gap than usual, which I don't know how big of a deal that is. Like, I don't know if you're going to release 4 or 5 cards, having 20% or to 30% between them isn't the worst thing in the world. I think it's a little better than having 80 cards that all have, a 5% performance difference and they can't really even differentiate them.
Well, and I want to also point something else out. Again, if we're being honest, what people really want is something like close to 4090 or better. I mean, ideally better, but around 4090 performance for $500. That's what most gamers are going to buy. And then splitting that with also sharing that die with the Xboxes we're about to cover in the next story gives you even more volume, more scale to make it even more cost effective and even better driver support. So that's really all AMD probably wants to make in general for gamers.
Well, and just having their two main dies, like they can use it for multiple reasons, is probably very nice for AMD, where the dual use for both gaming, I guess, for the mid-range, for 2 different gaming dual uses, and AI for the top one would be ideal.
Exactly. And so a thing I pointed out in the Moore's Laws at Discord recently is what would AT1, if it were to come out, be used for? Honestly, probably just gaming. Well, why bother? You have the perfect driver optimized console GPU that's pushed to the limits on PC. Then you have the AI behemoth. That's the 2 parts of the market that are the most lucrative right now. And I don't see a big deal between if they do this. Like, I saw some people go, this is just like what Nvidia is doing with the 4080 and the 5080 being half the size of the 5090. And it's like, yeah, only if they charge $1,000 for it. Like, the problem with the 5080 isn't that it's a lot weaker than the 5090. It's that it's stupid expensive and only has 16 gigabytes. So if you have a $500 4090 and then like I don't know, $1,200-$1,500 6090 competitor. And to be clear, I think there would be something in the middle. There would be a more cut down version of that top die probably if they do this. But even if they don't, who cares? Like, you have a great $500 card, you have a great $1,200 card. The middle is kind of an ugly stepchild, in my opinion. I don't get, and you could argue this is the diminishing returns. Like, one of them can do 4K 120 pretty well and turn on ray tracing. The crazy one, this is your 4K 240, 8K 60. But it takes so much more performance to notice the difference that you could almost argue it's pointless to buy in the middle there. And again, I still think there could be something in the middle if you just slightly cut down that top die a little more. We saw there was another 138 compute unit yield as well that could be used for gaming.
Yeah, and I guess I don't really know how this ultimately translates to sales, but that like awkward middle child cut down
like 7900 GRE,
that's the one that always gets a bunch of derision from reviewers. So I don't know, maybe AMD's like, screw this die. But
like the 7900 XT, where it's like,
why does this even exist? And finally they're like, why does this exist if they don't launch it 1 year?
Yeah, they're like, all this does is exist to make the more expensive card look good. Sure, then we won't make it.
Yeah.
Get the super card or don't. We don't really care. Like, it makes some sense to me. I'm trying to think if there's really anything else to discuss with these things. I mean, obviously there'll be more coming out of this channel about them soon. Subscribe to the channel. We'll save it for future leaks, but there's a lot more I could say.
That question that was cut was worried about not enough RDNA. Well, there's gonna be too much RDNA soon, Tom. All we're talking about is
all
RDNA.
You people that were tired of the Zen 6 leaks, you will rue the day you ask for RDNA leaks, because it's gonna be nothing but RDNA and console leaks for the next month, baby. Techno writes in, can we expect RDNA 5 to bring the return of good gaming laptops, since the performance increase between the 2070 mobile and 5070 mobile is barely 40%? In 6.5 years? Is that really all it is? Jesus, Nvidia. Yeah, I mean, look, RDNA 5 seems like it's going to be used by everything from future video. I guess I can kind of drop it here. Who cares? PS6 probably going to use RDNA 5. Next Xbox, RDNA 5. Those are APUs. Who knows? Maybe Magnus, the Xbox APU, will be used in laptop. I guess, RDNA 5 is going to be in a ton of APUs, I think, by 2027 or something. So, yeah, I think it will be. But notice I say APUs because I continue to think, man, APUs are the future of laptops for AMD, guys. And it's so obvious that they're making dedicated cards for desktop. To be clear, I think they will have some RDNA 4 laptop GPUs at the end of this year, I've heard probably. I'm not 100%, but I've heard that that's probably going to happen. But, yeah, I think RDNA 5 will have a lot of good options for laptop eventually. But just keep in mind, most of that's going to be APUs, and there will probably be AT2 as the 990M or whatever they call it, M. I don't know, 90M.
Well, with the future of APUs, though, that could be I could see that being like the 60, 70 like class market in the future, APUs. Like, so sure. And yeah, I'm certainly looking forward, regardless of if it's discrete GPUs or APUs, something that competes with like the 70 class NVIDIA mobile GPUs, because Jesus, is that a stagnant part of the market?
And think about how cool this could be. Like, let's say AT2 is also shared, or some AT3, I don't know, is shared with like Medusa, Medusa 1. I'm not saying it is, but I think this is their future. If it's not Medusa, it'll be the one that comes after it or something, where you'll have an APU IO die, like with whatever it has, 10, 12 cores, like 8 compute units, good enough for 1080p gaming. And then if you want, you can add a 12 core or in the future 16 core chiplet, and then a dedicated die for gaming, like a dedicated GPU, like a large one. Or maybe instead of adding a CPU chiplet, you just add 32 compute units to the side and you're done. That's where I think the future of laptop is going with AMD's upcoming FP10 and FP11 sockets I've leaked for Medusa products. Is I think where they're going to, if it's not Zen 6, Zen 7 APUs are going to get into this point where you have like a central IO die, you can add more cores and then add a dedicated GPU that's really powerful, or you can add a mid-range GPU instead of more cores and have an optimized and really efficient, by the way, APU for mid-range gaming. I think that we're going to get there by RDNA 5. I think so. Techno writes in again and says, with RDNA 5 likely being based on N3C, which I don't know if I said that in the write-up, it's 3 nanometer. They're deciding between N3C and N3P. Do you think that is more likely RDNA 4 Extreme uses N4X and not N3X? So remember, I never said I knew which node. I thought it could be N3X or N4X because when I see 3.7 gigahertz for the hypothetical 980 or 990 XT, although to be clear, to this day, I can't confirm if that's coming out. I do know it's in the labs, though. If it does come out, I don't think we should discount the chance that it could come out at the beginning of next year and compete with NVIDIA's super GPUs. I think that's also very likely.
Oh, sure.
But I will say, which one? Yeah, look, I don't know. It could be N3 and it's like a pipe cleaner like Radeon 7. It could be N4X. I've even had some people at AMD who know about this product suggest that it could just use N4P again, like the 9070 XT, that all this is slight tweaks for higher clocks. Like maybe they space out the compute units slightly more and then use a different voltage curve, because it is true. I've messed around with my 9070 XT a decent amount here. I've gotten that thing to like 3.3 gigahertz. There's people online that have hit 3.4. I mean, a different voltage curve, golden samples, and a die tweaked to clock a little higher with GDDR7. I think it's not inconceivable this could just use the same node. So I wouldn't speculate either way. I would, in fact, techno throw at you, how do we know they even need a new node if we have 9060 XTs already hitting 3.3, 3.4 gigahertz? It sounds to me like another stepping and some tweaks. Maybe they could hit at least 3.5 without a new node. Better, who by the way tells me that you should say his name Peter.
Oh, Peter. Oh,
that's what he messaged me. That's what he says. I don't know. The alphabet I'm used to.
Where's Peter from? Or did Peter say
Peter write in again? Tell us where you're from. Spelling it with a B. We at least deserve to know where you're from. If you're going to put a B,
justify yourself.
Explain
yourself. Yeah.
Explain. Watch yourself, counselor. Peter writes in and says, over under on if Navi 48X, this is the hypothetical 9080 XT we're talking about here, is released as part of RDNA 5 in the UDNA gem. 0%. Again, from what I saw in documentation, RDNA 5 is looking to launch maybe if they're lucky, early 27, but conceivably the middle of 2027. So it would make sense to me if RDNA 4 launched beginning of 25, maybe at CES they announce a 9080 XT at the same time Nvidia announces Super. That's kind of what I'm wondering if that's going to happen at this point. And then that leaves another whole year for that to be sold. I think that's conceivable.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you don't release a pipe cleaner at the same time as your new gen with the clean pipes, Tom.
No. And also, let's say this. Guys, I mean, right now they're selling Strix Halo products that have 8000 series, 8050, 8060 instead of 9060, 9070 graphics. So even if they was launched at this, it won't be, obviously it'd be a year or so before, but even if it was launched at the same time as RDNA 5, they haven't been afraid to have two different naming schemes at the same time with the different architectures in the past. So that's why I say absolutely 0% chance this is not going to be part of RDNA 5's lineup. At least not unless it becomes rebranded later, but I don't know why on earth they would do that.
Well, it is AMD.
It is rebranded.
Never put it past them.
Well, speaking of something that could get rebranded over and over, let us move on to story number 2. This piece of content is brought to you by JLC PCB. JLC PCB supports a wide range of PCB materials, including traditional FR4, aluminum, and copper core boards. But beyond these, JLC also specializes in flexible PCBs, offering enhanced versatility for modern electronics. But that's not all. In addition to classic yellow, black, and white PCB substrates, they now provide transparent PCBs that gives a sleek, futuristic design for electronics that want to ditch bulky enclosures and embrace a more transparent circuit board as their foundation. If you want to get any of these products and support Moore's Law is Dead, check out the link in the description to get easy, affordable, and reliable PCB manufacturing. And you can even get a $10 coupon for a Flex PCB right now. So support Moore's Law is Dead by supporting JLC PCB today. AMD Zen 6 Magnus / next-gen Xbox leaked. All right, now on to Zen 6 Magnus. Firmly, after dancing around talking about this for about 10 minutes. To be clear, when we first leaked a Magnus APU a couple of weeks ago, we thought that it might actually be a PlayStation APU. Such an odd APU with its elongated die, large GPU, weird 3+8 config that almost reminded us of the PS3. It seemed very Mark Cerny-like, and that's why PlayStation 6 was the first idea that came to us. And in fact, with all of the chaos around Xbox, Team Green just wasn't exactly the first thing that we thought of when it came to future consoles. Although, to be clear, we did state in this video that we weren't sure and that it could definitely be an Xbox, and now we know that it definitely is. So yes, Zen 6 Magnus, it is the next-gen Xbox APU. It is in kind of final development that it sees before they probably start finalizing and testing physical stuff. We know that the GPU die in this 2-chiplet APU is AT2. Yes, the same die that will be paired with a media die for video out for dedicated graphics cards on desktop. As for specs in this iteration, AT2 goes up to 70 compute units, but Magnus should receive 68 compute unit yields. At least that's what I was told. And then also it has the same 192-bit GDDR7 bus. And finally, to be clear, I want to be very clear, by the way, when I say that this is Xbox, I have sources with documents that say Magnus is the follow-on to Arden. Arden was the code name for Xbox Series X. So there's no detective work here. There's a documents basically calling it Xbox Next. So there you go. Those are the specs. 68 compute units, 192-bit GDDR7 bus, 2 chiplets, and at least for now, it seems that Xbox lives on. We are still somewhat surprised by this, despite, to be honest, sources telling me for years that they would still make at least one more home console. But seeing AMD being allowed to use silicon in the Xbox for desktop GPUs kind of makes it all make sense to us, as maybe AMD was only interested in supporting this product if they could leverage Xbox market share for further optimizing for their mid-range next-gen GPUs as well. Although that's speculation, but I'm pretty sure that had to have been part of it. Anyways, in terms of raw performance, as we've already said, Magnus should give you around 5080 performance, which should provide a decent performance boost for a console launching late next year or possibly in 2027. And if we could speculate a little more, using the same die in a console as mid-range GPUs means they will keep making that mid-range GPU die for years to come, making me think there's a good chance they're rebranding that one for a long time to more and more budget class GPUs. But I don't know. It's interesting. And it is smaller than 9070 XT, so it really could be cheaper over time as well.
It will get the 60 or 70, 60, 50, 3 gens in a row, all using the same die. Classic.
But that's speculation.
Classic,
Maybe not.
Yeah.
And maybe they will just do what NVIDIA does. Keep making the same GPU for years, like the 3060. They can do that.
If their ray tracing and FSR performance is all up to snuff by the time this comes out, why not just why not just sell this thing for years?
Yeah, started at 500, then 400, then 350, and just keep spitting them out. Especially because Xbox seems to get the best yields almost. So it does seem like their plan might be to take the bad yields and then sell those forever for cheap. Anyway, but what did you think about this, Dan?
I think the fact that they're seemingly now able to use, or next generation, they're going to be mixing and matching GPU tiles with different, IO/chiplet tiles is very interesting. And I don't know, it seems like that modularity that's been often discussed about chiplet designs is finally coming fully to fruition there at AMD. And yeah, I think Microsoft's chip being dual use for also PC kind of makes sense for a semi-dying console.
Yeah. It's interesting, too. I've seen this, I haven't said this yet, called out on several documents, both for the next-gen PlayStation, which we'll get to in the next story, and Xbox. It's like RDNA 5 console back compat. Like, it's like a goal. It almost makes me wonder, like, is there a chance Microsoft will bring Xbox emulation to PC, but you have to have an AT2 graphics card? I doubt it. I've literally seen it as a constraint, backwards compatible for this die.
It would be really cool if somehow they brought like Xbox backwards compatibility to certain I don't know, I guess it would be Microsoft or Xbox branded graphics cards on PC, but it really does sound like that's just a massive can of worms that probably can't be opened
for legal reasons. But so I don't know. I guess we'll see. Probably not. But it does make me think for sure, the home console for Xbox Next Gen will be backwards compatible with previous Xboxes at least.
Which that's not a shocker at all. Like, that's been a pretty consistent goal, I think, from Microsoft for a long time with their consoles.
Which I want to say, I've seen it. Surprise, people misquoting things that I have claimed or said about next-gen Xbox. My attacks on lack of backwards compatibility, it's the handheld, because there's no way that 8 compute unit Xbox Ally has backwards compatibility. And I think Xbox fans expect it to, because it's called an Xbox. They expect Xbox to be more than a sticker. But I think the home console will be. One thing I want to move on to, because, it occurs to me I should probably say this. I think we can just kind of say how powerful the next-gen Xbox is. We know enough. And I'm going to save some of the things I know about RDNA 5's performance over RDNA 4 for an upcoming video. But what I would suggest is that, look, I think we can at least say the iteration in the Xbox Magnus console, whatever they end up calling it. By the way, I believe I forgot the name of it, but there was a Transformer code name for AT2, and Magnus is in Transformers. So that was another link there I could have noticed, I suppose, but I know nothing about Transformers. But if it's around the 5080, which means 20% stronger than the 9070 XT, basically, that is then what we should expect out of the next gen Xbox. Is it will probably be about 20% faster than a 9070 XT. And then, but again, this is scratch math, plus minus 10, 15%, everybody. But if I just assume the PS5 Pro in its ideal optimized setting, fully leveraging the advantages it has in its architecture, as a 7800 XT, I think you can then go to the 5080 here on Tech Power Up. and you can estimate that, yeah, I mean, the next gen Xboxes in graphics performance not even going to be twice as strong as the PS5 Pro. I think everyone needs to come to terms with that now. Come to terms with it, everybody. It's not even twice as strong, and it might only be 50% stronger, depending on how you look at it. Now, in CPU performance, I don't know. I mean, even though it's a 3 nanometer version of Zen 6, I like double the CPU, more than double probably. But that is a further reason for me to be 100% sure, even though I have a document saying it now, that this is an Xbox. This is coming out as something at best twice as powerful as a PS5 Pro, a couple of years after the PS5 Pro comes out, and then a year or two after that, you'll probably get the PlayStation, or around the same time. And so,
which maybe that just means the goal is to push, high refresh rates at like variable resolution 4K or something like that, which I think that's what most people would want anyways. I mean, hearing it only being,
it does get FSR. Well, PlayStation 5 Pro will get FSR 4 as well. So I guess we can't even say it has an FSR 4 advantage necessarily until we see how that runs on the Pro. But
hearing it only be like possibly 50% stronger than a PS5
50
Pro,
to 100, it could be, it could be double.
Is a bit disappointing. Like, I think gen over gen, you want to like see, I don't know, 3x performance at least. But I do think to some extent,
over the Series X will be like 6 times stronger.
True.
But
I do think we're starting to see a slowdown in what people really want out of their graphics, and I don't know why that wouldn't extend to consoles, especially like, well, can you make an $800 4K 240 console or something, or can you just make a $500 100 hertz
120 hertz 4K console?
Yeah.
Well, I will say I'd be very surprised if this was $500 with their Xboxes going.
True.
I'm saving this for a future video. I think PlayStation might surprise people, the pricing they're targeting. That's all I'll say for now. But with Xbox, I just saw a lot of people react to my Magnus leak, especially when I confirmed it's the Xbox. And they're like, there's no way that would be Sony. That looks way too powerful. Guys, has a 192-bit bus.
Sony and Microsoft never release consoles of comparable power. So
I know. And trust me, Sony, at least in some of the specs I know, is very similar to what Magnus looks like in some ways. But I would just hope that, yes, I would hope this is like $600, comes out at the very end of next year, and tries to aim for 4K 120 and can boot Windows. That would be, if it does that, that's going to throw a grenade into the pre-built market of like, you cannot overcharge for upgrading the RAM on your pre-built PCs anymore. If this, of course, we don't know how much RAM this will have. Maybe it'll just be 18 gigabytes, but I'd suspect it might be to 36 or something.
I'd hope at least like 32 or
32 minimum. It needs at least 32. Let's be honest. But yeah, so I just wanted to say that, like, I know the performance then basically too now. Like, we can now say that the next gen Xbox is going to be probably up to double the performance of the PS5 Pro, probably more if you turn on ray tracing. But it's not, the difference between the Series X and the PS4 Pro, which was like, or Xbox One X, which was like 2-3 times stronger with all the other bells and whistles. Other bells and whistles remain. I'm sure I'll have special AI features. The CPU is way more powerful, blah, 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 blah. But that's what we're looking at, is it doesn't seem like Xbox is going insane here.
No.
They've got a die that's, I guess, in total a bit bigger than the Series X, but it's, it uses 2 chiplets, so that's part of the reason why. And it's, PS5 Pro has 60 compute units. This has 68 with a newer architecture. It's not insane.
No.
It seems like they're not going completely buck wild here at the specs like I thought they might. Okay, let us then move on. Again, speaking of dancing around, we have been dancing around talking about this console directly as well. Story number 3. Sony confirms Moore's Law is dead leak. Moore's Law is dead confirms PlayStation 6 Orion and Canis handheld. Quoting first from PlayStation Lifestyle before moving on to the other information. Moore's Law is Dead on YouTube claimed that the PS5 and PS5 Pro will be getting a low power mode that would enable the console to draw less power and lower energy consumption while running games. Moore's Law is Dead speculated that this mode is a precursor to the rumored handheld. And, again, I'm quoting this article, this morning, Sony confirmed the new power-saving setting, which will allow supported PS5 games to scale back performance and reduce the console's power consumption. We initially missed this connection, to be honest, but fans were quick to point out that this new setting is, in fact, the rumored mode that Moore's Law is Dead was talking about, and so we can say it is all but confirmed at this point. And moving on to my own editorialization, it doesn't stop there. Hot off the heels of having our previous PlayStation handheld leaks confirmed, we also got some early information on next-gen PlayStation APUs. That's right, multiple, plural APUs. As we leaked last month, Sony is preparing a handheld alongside the standard console, and also a few months before that, multiple times. And this handheld will be powered by an AMD codenamed Canis. Sony is switching from Shakespeare characters to constellations. We can also confirm the standard console APU is codenamed Orion and Canis. Along with the power saving mode, which came to PS5, this is more confirmation of the handheld. That's another thing, is it's clearly called out as for PlayStation 6. I want to be clear. It's not a PS5 handheld. Now, as for the other code names, Robin and Robin Plus that were discussed in the video before very quickly a day later being changed to something else, those are not the PS6 nor PS6 refresh, despite Robin being a name in a Midsummer Night's Dream, just like Oberyn, which was the code name for the PS5. Yeah, so it's from that family. Robin and Robin Plus were canceled mining APUs. Apparently, they're going to use the bad yields of the PS5 to make mining APUs, and AMD canceled that plan. That explains why there was a Robin and Robin Plus next to Oberyn and Oberyn Plus. That explains why they're the same family, because they are part of that family. They are not part of PlayStation 6. Again, it is Orion and Canis that are PlayStation 6 and the PlayStation 6 handheld. So I'm actually very excited about this one as well, although I haven't released many details about them yet. What do you think, Dan?
I just made the connection. It's a hunter and his dog. So
it is a hunter and his dog is the codename. Again, further that this completely makes sense.
Yes. I mean, I'm not sure how much to add. I'm excited to see how these two stack up against each other. I'm very excited for Sony to get back into the handheld market, especially with this, where it seems like they're kind of just going for a, they're both the same ecosystem this time around, instead of two different ecosystems where they're not really ever quite sure what to do with the handhelds. Because I think that was kind of the downfall of, the Vita had a million downfalls, including Sony wanting it to fail, but also the issues with the PSP is, to some extent, you don't know what things you want to bring to it. So sometimes it's just like less essential games in a series that they bring to the portable console. And here it's just, you can get one or both, whichever one suits your needs the best.
Yeah. And again, I want to be clear about this. It's PlayStation 6. They're in multiple documents together. They're both called out as PlayStation 6. They use the same CPU and GPU architecture. I'm holding myself back from revealing more right now because I want to dot all the I's, and then, make sure you're subscribed if you are interested in the PS6. I'm about to spill a lot more information on this, but
spill your beans.
Spill the beans. But what I will say is I think it's very exciting that it is definitely PlayStation 6. This is something me and Colin talked about on both Sacred Symbols and when he came on Broken Silicon. And eventually he came around to completely agreeing with me, I believe, that it's just like, why bother with the PS5 handheld? PS6 is like a couple years away. Just do it right, It seems like that is what they're doing. Now, to be clear, there is some other leaker out there I've seen that said that there's something codenamed Jupiter, Orion. Maybe Jupiter is a PS5 handheld they just rush out this year or something. I still think it makes really no sense. But
I guess depending on how, to what fanfare they attempted to release it at, it could go over fine. But yeah, just having a mobile PS5 or something come out 80%, 70 to 80% of the way through the console generation feels off to me.
The only reason, and this is an argument I made, that they would do that is, what if you could then take the same budget APU, put it in a deck of cards sized console, and sell it for $299 with GTA 6. That's the only thing I would say, is if you could do that. But I still think GTA 6 is going to be sold for 15 years, Sony. For all we know, the PS6 will be out before they even port it to PC. Just do it then. And that brings me to another thing. We keep talking about how so many people are still on PS4. Having Canis be a handheld device that can then also be turned into from what I've seen in the specs, a $299 console that technically can run all modern AAA games. I mean, that is how you win over the PS4 people, is give them probably $399. Give them something reasonably, or $399 or less, and to finally murk the Xbox Series S as well. I think that just makes sense.
Yeah, like a PS TV 2 type thing could be what really brings over the holdouts. Although,
again, meant for 1080p 60, 720p 120, can run all PS6, all PS5, all PS4 games, and run the PS4 games that the PS4 gamers would be upgrading from better than the PS4 could. that sort of device with an APU a fraction the size of the other one, the full home console, I think you could get that down to like $349, and that's how you win over the PlayStation 4 people. And so that's why I think this is very important for PS6 as well. And by the way, it's important for PC gamers as well. We should all want the PS4 to go away. For the love of God, go away so that all AAA games are targeting PS6 or higher.
And
slash PS5.
And I think another important thing, not using a hard drive anymore to run your games. Jesus,
I mean, that alone.
Can we just kill hard drives like as a standard that PC gaming still needs to support?
Yeah. So I don't know. Again, guys, if you're interested in this stuff, subscribe. There's going to be a lot more about it very soon. But otherwise, I'm just happy to confirm the exact code names now and to be able to say that, yeah, look, the handheld is real. It is coming. I'm more excited about that than PS6, to be honest. And it is going to be PS6, not PS5. Thank God.
Yeah,
or at least this one isn't.
For me to get excited about the PS6 right now, I do need to see, like, they better have a good unveiling where it's like, and this is where our first parties have been, by the way, guys.
Well, so this is, I think we can bring this up. This is something me and you and our friend Brock talked about last night while playing Helldivers. Like, it's something Colin Moriarty brought up is that you can clearly see that a big reason there weren't that as many PlayStation exclusives this gen is Sony stupidly told them all
we
to
need to
build
develop
online
games as a service.
Yeah, like, and again, there's nothing wrong with games as a service. In theory, it's just you should build a new studio to do that. Or if someone has a good idea, let them do it. Don't tell them all to do it, and then we have one less game from 12 studios over 4 years. What we need to hope for, which is what me and you and him, Brock, talked about, is they need to prove they have that. And the PS6 is going to have a lot to prove. It's going to have to be priced right to win over the PS4 people. And also, it's going to have an actually awesome launch lineup that keeps going. If they do that, it wins. It's going to do well no matter what. I mean, let's be clear. But I think that it's going to need that. It is going to need that launch lineup. And I think that it's easy to make an argument that they actually will have it, because I can explain to you why they did into this gen, besides Demon's Souls, I guess, which is maybe the only studio they didn't make work on an online game. But it's because they were making all those online games. And if they stopped that 3 years ago, then by the time the PS6 comes out, maybe it will have all the games to get the PS4 people to upgrade.
Or let, one of those games you told the studios to work on come out. Like, I'm a bit annoyed that and I'll always be annoyed that Factions 2 is probably never going to be a thing.
Yeah, look, someday that's probably going to leak. It always does. Eventually someone retires, someone does a tell-all, maybe it'll be 5-10 years from now. But I really want to know why the hell they couldn't do some online component. I mean, you could have charged, I've heard they made a lot of money actually in the DLC for The Last of Us 1's factions. Like, they sold tons of DLC, and I heard that thing was going strong for a long time, was making Naughty Dog a lot of money. It doesn't make any sense to me, even if you don't do an always online game, that they didn't take whatever they were doing for factions and just gut it and make it 10 maps like before with like 4 5v5. No return. Why didn't they have a co-op mode for no return? It's like they made an online game, then stopped. Someone someday should explain that.
Yeah, I know.
It's stupid.
Because we've talked about that a bunch with like The Last of Us, where I think most people think the gameplay is somewhere between fine to okay, like workable to like okay, but there's a group of people that think it is some of the best gameplay ever, and The Last of Us 2 made it just better in every way.
Made it smoother too. Yeah.
I'm just pissed the online isn't there anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Someday maybe we'll find out, hopefully. How much would you laugh as like a launch PS6 games, The Last of Us Factions? I'm like, are you effing kidding me? Another thing that
I'll be happy.
Another thing that would make me laugh, the Bloodborne remaster or Metal Gear Solid remaster is a PS6 game. It's like
all of the things we were
vindicated.
All of the things we were excited about that silently got canceled
that
just
all
come out
into development hell or something.
Also, Kojima's Silent Hills comes out too.
Yeah. Yes, somehow that happens. Oh my God, I'd cry. Jensen Wang, all will be NVIDIA writes in and says a follow-up on Zen 6 competing with current Zen. I'm throwing the question in here because everything we just talked about, all these APUs, well, I shouldn't say all, maybe not PlayStation, definitely Xbox will use Zen 6. It says AMD told multiple outlets in the press quite a bit that Zen 5 was simply laying the groundwork for improvements. The quote published by Chips and Cheese was, "You'll see the actual foundational lift play out in the future on Zen 6, even though it was really Zen 5 that set the table for that." Yeah, maybe. I will say, though, Zen 5, they were hoping the gaming performance would be better than it ended up being.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as simple to say that it laid the groundwork. But having said that, it will be funny. Like if Zen 6 feels like 2 generations of uplifts, that would explain why Zen 5 felt like half of one.
This does kind of, to me, feel like it could be there. It does feel like the starting of a new cycle to me, though. Like if Zen 1 was.
Like Zen 6 or Zen 2, maybe.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
It
does feel like a very, very big, more than iteration from what we've been talking about.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of iterations of things we've been talking about, let us move on to story number 4. GPD is making a Strix Halo handheld. Quoting first from the Fox and then moving on to editorialization. GPD has just released a video showing off that they are indeed working on the newest GPD Win 5, which features AMD's absolutely newest monstrous APU, AMD Strix Halo. Thing's going to be like a backpack type of thing, apparently, that clips on to the GPD 5. The battery capacity on this external battery pack is 80 watt hour. The battery life for continuous operation is 2 hours, moderate gaming 3 to 4 hours, light is 6 hours. And this is generally in line, I guess, with what we should expect out of a handheld. There are 2 configurations with lots of different memory options and storage options, but effectively there's the tippity top max 395 plus version with 16 cores and 40 compute units, and the 385 version with 8 cores and 32 compute units. You ask me, that seems more meant for a handheld, but he says this thing's going to be the most monstrous handheld there is, but we're going to have to see how well that backpack works out before we say if it's a good device. Yep. So it took a while, but Strix Halo is coming to handhelds with the GPD Win 5 due to be shown off at China Joy 2025, which takes place from August 1st to 4th, and just a week from now then. Just as a Strix Halo powered tablet, this could be a breakthrough device for the form factor with double the CPU cores and more than double the GPU CUs of its nearest competitors, while possibly actually being smaller than its competitors. Well, for the most part, here's where the butts in. We don't actually know how big the Win 5 will be because it has an external battery, a backpack to the handheld that likely clips onto the back of the device somehow. This takes the shine off of the stated dimensions quite a bit, but who knows? This system could allow for battery swaps to extend gaming sessions. Yes, but if there's not one built in, wouldn't you have to turn off the game to put another battery on? I don't know. The screen looks good too. The memory, the storage, expandability, all good. The APU, well, we know what Strix Halo can do, even in restricted form factors. If GPD doesn't screw up the battery backpack, this could possibly be an amazing handheld, top of the line for years to come. And that's right, for years to come, as we do want to take this article as a chance to point something out. After all, Medusa Halo is the farthest from AMD's Zen 6 family of APUs to come out anytime soon. It's coming out maybe early to late 2027. Magnus also is probably too large for the handheld and isn't launching at least for a year or more. And so, well, Strix Halo has been slowly rolled out, and we've all noticed your reader mails asking where are the Strix Halo products. Note that it's not going to be followed up for a long time, and Nvidia's N1X APU is going through even more trouble. As we will soon get to the next article, the next story. Outside of Apple, which is almost its own separate world, let's be honest, Strix Halo has no competition on the horizon this year. And I would also add, I saw an announcement or a leak that came out that another laptop company will be making Strix Halo laptops soon. So 2 things to talk about here. I want to talk about this ridiculous handheld. I think it's interesting for PC gaming, but I also want to use this as a springboard eventually to bring up, like, at first, it seemed weird that Strix Halo was taking so long to come out, but I have to say, it's starting to remind me of Rembrandt that started a new platform. Yeah. And that's why it took a year for Rembrandt to be everywhere. But once a year passed, it was everywhere, and it didn't really have competition until a year later. And Strix Halo isn't going to have competition from NVIDIA for another year. Intel's not going to challenge it for over a year. Strix Halo is going to roll out slowly, but it is going to keep coming to products, and it doesn't have competition.
Yeah, and I just think these larger APUs then, as they become a more regular thing, are just, going to become more prolific over time, just like what you saw with Rembrandt and its follow-ups.
Yeah. But what do you think about this handheld that requires, by the way, it says 80 watts. I think this might have a higher TDP for the CPU than my Strix Halo laptop. Just want to point that out.
I have to wonder, maybe I'm misunderstanding something, but if it's going to have like some weird backpack thing for it, why not just have the full 100 watt hour limit on this instead of the 80 watt hours?
Because you still have to cool it in your hands.
I guess. Okay. I don't know. I'm very skeptical of the battery backpack thing that's going to be on this. The little video that they put out I think the device itself looked cool, but knowing that you have to clip on a battery, it's like, I think this might be a case of them trying to have their cake and eat it too, where, well, we couldn't make this thing actually portable, so here we're pretending it's portable, and here's this big bulky thing that attaches to it to actually make it usable.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. Look, if it clips on in a way that feels like a full device, then whatever. Like maybe it's something you can put in your pocket, and then you put in the other pocket the battery, and then you put them together, and this was their creative way to make it more portable, actually. All right. I'll hear that. And frankly, if it's this big instead of like this big, like the frickin' ROG can't carry this anywhere. Sorry, I'm not a big fan of the ROG Ally, guys. Like maybe this will feel more portable overall. And I don't know. I just remember when I saw this pop up, I was like, they showed this video, I think, of them playing Black Myth Wukong. It was at 2.5 gigahertz. And I'm like, my 390 laptop with I think 55 to 70 watt TDP for the APU boosts to 2.2 gigahertz. This is a 2.5 with 40 CUs. I was like, so what is it? Does it throttle a ton? Doesn't seem like it. Okay. Does it have a 10-minute battery life? Or does it have a jet engine attached to it? And the answer is in the middle. It doesn't have a 10-minute battery life. It doesn't even have a battery built into it. They removed the whole battery to put a normal laptop cooler, and then you can add a battery. So we'll just have to see how that works out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how much to add about that. It sounds like they're really going for performance on this thing, which I don't know if that's the smartest idea for this form factor.
Why not just use the 385? Like my 390, I just finally did, by the way, I beat Modern Warfare 2 last night, the newer Modern Warfare 2. Last level in Chicago was really cool. That was awesome. A couple missions were really stupid, though. That truck mission, everybody, in Modern Warfare 2. Someone should be fired over that.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that was the coolest mission.
Right in below, everybody. How many times you played Modern Warfare 2? How many times did it take you to jump to that APC to end the mission? God, that was terrible. But I was playing that 4K Ultra 90 locked on my 50. It was only pulling 55 watts in the APU sustained. So I'm sitting here going, all right, well, my laptop's 32 CU, 12 cores. Couldn't you have just done the 385 now? 8 cores, 32 CU, limited it to 25 watts and made this fit in a normal handheld? They're going for the opposite. I guess they figure either we're the strongest or we're not, but it's odd to me because I think they really could have used a 380 or 385 and still the strongest handheld. Well, it's still actually being a handheld.
Yeah, I just don't think the handheld market is asking for the strongest thing on the market. And I guess maybe, hopefully, I guess I don't know if they really have the resources to do this, like a more practical thing that uses the 385 comes out, because I don't know why this needs more than 60 cores. I mean, not 60. I don't know why this needs 16 cores. Oops.
So why does it need to have a CPU stronger than your desktop?
Yeah, so something more practical with 8 cores, and oh no, you're making a slight sacrifice with 32 compute units to get that. I think that makes a lot more sense for a handheld. Maybe this is a just kind of stupid Halo product to be, so they can claim that they have it. I mean, that
I think so.
They put out, like the products they put out are mostly designs that no other company thinks to put out, really. So
from that perspective, I applaud them being creative. I'd like to see if it works out.
Yeah,
I don't need more of the same thing, I guess. Right. And you know, I'm trying to think of what was like the final thing I wanted to say about this. Oh, the price. I think this one is one to watch big time. There's a reason HP got away. There's a reason Asus got away with charging $2,300 for their Strix Halo tablet, because that's what they already charged before when it came with only a 4050 or something. So this is better, way better than a 4050. Has 16 cores. They're going to charge a premium price. HP got away with charging $4,000 to $8,000, although that's all covered in my review of Strix Halo. I got it for $2,500 because it has a 3-year warranty. Apple level quality, build quality. I mean, my God, everything works perfect. I mean, you get professional grade driver stability. You know, that's why that laptop's right now about $2,000 to $3,500 is what the G1A with Strix Halo is, depending on the configuration, unless you go completely crazy. You know, so this doesn't have that crazy screen. It's a smaller form factor. I bet it's a 1-year warranty. If this is $1,500, this is more evidence that, like, my argument, Strix Halo is going to take a while to come out. It's coming to premium stuff first, but eventually
the price down.
This is going to be that mid-range APU in 2026 that they spit out for market share eventually. That's just better because it has more VRAM, because it's an APU, not an 8 gigabyte NVIDIA card. But if it's 3,000, I don't know, guys.
And I do just worry that they're going to charge something stupid for it, because this is a one
What
of a kind
price do you
device.
think's the most they could charge? The ROG, the Steam Deck's like 500. It's a little less, a little more, depending. Like if it's say Steam Deck's 500, ROG Ally's like 6, 7, 800 or something like that. And I've seen premium, you know, Strix Point handhelds that are like $1,200. So what do you think this is?
18.
Yeah, my worry is it's gonna be like $2,000. And I think, all right, so that's what we think it's going to be. What do you think it has to be? Because my answer is 1,500 or less to really take off.
Yeah, I mean, probably.
GPD's not the smallest company. People know about GPD if they're enthusiasts. This isn't like One Player or Ienyo or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to demand more of a premium. So I think 1,500 really is the cheapest I could imagine it going.
Yeah, I think at 1,500 it could sell well though if it was actually useful. I think another interesting thing about it is it's the most portable Strix Halo puck. Like, it's the most portable little thing you could put in your backpack and then use on the go. And then when you get home, put it in a dock, and you have, well, the performance of between a PS5 and PS5 Pro. I mean,
I play nuts.
Call of Duty 4K high refresh ultra settings on this little laptop pulling 55 watts. It's conceived, you know, Strix Halo really is incredible for its size. So maybe that's what they're just trying to sell. This is the smallest Strix Halo device. That's max power.
And it also has a screen.
And it also technically has a screen. You almost wonder if it should be a mini PC at this point, but yeah. So yeah, I don't know. We talked about that a decent amount. Usually some announcement like this wouldn't get its own story, but there's so much to discuss when it comes to Strix Halo connected to this that I thought it could be a launching off point for kind of an update for what's going on with Strix Halo. This piece of content is brought to you by CDkeyoffer.com. CDkeyoffer.com is really the best place to go to get reasonable pricing on Microsoft software, whether that's Windows 11 operating systems or Office products like the ones that I installed on this new Strix Halo laptop that I was testing while I made this ad. You see, I actually use CDkeyoffer.com. I've used them many times. My family members use them. My friends use them when they're building new PCs. And that's because they've been a reliable sponsor of Moore's Law is Dead for years now. And so if you're looking to get, say, a new laptop, or you just finally want to get a legitimate key of one of the latest Office products on your desktop during back to school, use CDkeyoffer.com's offer codes Broken Silicon to save 25% on all Microsoft products. And then actually you can also use offer code DieShrink to save 3% on everything else on their website, like games as well. Once again, I want to thank CDkeyoffer.com for sponsoring this content, like all the other content that they've sponsored, and for making it easy for me to get a good price on Office on my new laptop. AI-generated fish writes and it says, is it me or is this Strix Halo launch just getting ridiculous? I recall with Strix Point there weren't many laptops, and there still aren't. However, Halo seems to be getting into everything except for laptops. We're getting multiple mini PCs. I've saw this. They're announcing ITX motherboards with them built in. Still only one tablet and one laptop, though. Please make this make sense and tell me Medusa Halo isn't going to follow this trend. No, I don't think so. Whatever they do with their next gen APUs, they'll have laid the groundwork with new. Well, wait, I think they are going to new sockets actually with Medusa products. So can't say for sure, but I will say Strix Halo kind of feels like a bridge product. Like it's in between the next gen sockets. It has its own bespoke socket. From that perspective, it makes sense why this isn't getting as much support as quickly, just in general. But because of that, it's going to be a lot like Hawk Point, I think, where like, well, if OEMs won't buy it, guess who will? All mini PC companies. So I don't know. I think you're going to still see this. And at this point, I'd be surprised, if Minis Forum didn't have a laptop or tablet with it. If GPD didn't also make a laptop with Strix Halo, like someone's going to make it, guys. And again, this is what's so exciting about all these little Minis Forum, GPD, Framework might make one. Like all of these companies that are not major OEMs are getting big enough where, someone, I've said this example a million times, someone's not making a solid AMD APU only Surface competitor. Minis Forum will. Someone's not making a decent little micro laptop for gaming. GPD will. So I think, again, give it 6 months. I think we're going to start seeing a lot of Strix Halo options outside of mini PCs. I do.
Yeah. And it's just right now, it seems like the more creative, smaller companies are the ones playing with it a lot.
But don't discount them. I mean, GPD's got a pretty good credibility. If they make a good laptop, a netbook, if Minis Forum makes a solid tablet or laptop with Strix Halo, just buy that. All right, let us now move on to story number 5. Nvidia N1X APU delayed, quoting from Semi-Accurate First. Nvidia has a serious issue with an upcoming chip, and they are blaming everyone but themselves. Semi-Accurate has seen this pattern with delays before, and this time is no different. This new problem with an upcoming chip is serious and has delayed the device by months so far with no fix in sight, according to our sources. Nvidia is blaming partners, as is their normal deflection routine, but this time they are also trashing Microsoft as well. That part is new. Then again, as long as you are not Nvidia, the blame is yours for their faults. Quoting now from XDA, Nvidia hasn't been forthcoming with details about its long-rumored N1X chip. We might finally know why. The chip, which is said to be a consumer-facing SoC targeting mobile platforms, was originally expected to show up earlier this year at Computex. However, according to a new report from DigiTimes, Nvidia has internally delayed the N1X due to a handful of factors. This includes weakening market demand, number 1, 2, chip revisions being required, and then, oddly enough, Windows 12. The delay was also tied to delays in the development of Microsoft's next generation operating system. This is the first we've heard of Nvidia potentially working with Microsoft to time the N1X with a next gen version of Windows. Yeah, I guess I never was directly told that either. But here we go. NVIDIA's N1X is delayed, therefore, for months. It was planned to be shown off at CES in January, actually, as the first to leak the family of laptop APUs had planned for 2025. That's right. We leaked this first, everybody. I leaked the 5070 performance people are talking about yesterday, and I have pictures out there. If you want to see it, I've leaked the pictures of it as well. But I've also seen continued red flags around it. Now, I didn't put out a giant leak about this, but I think I've been dropping hints. I think right in a couple of episodes, like, I don't know, N1X might not come out this year. I never put this into any quotes or a formal leak, but I'm going to say it today. Yeah, look, I think it's launching next year, maybe mid next year. I've heard nothing but issues from my contacts who are testing N1X chips. It's definitely not ready. And so Semi-Accurate also raised this alarm, showing NVIDIA has been blaming Microsoft for months. We now have DigiTimes out with why the delays are happening, and I've also heard the same things. So I don't know. I don't know what else there really is to say. It's probably not just Windows, but as Wendell wondered in the aforementioned episodes of Broken Silicon where I leaked the pictures of it, if Windows is the issue, why doesn't NVIDIA just go with Linux? Can't just be Windows therefore, and NVIDIA should probably take some blame for their own issues. But yeah, so I think this is definitely worth covering here. I mean, what do you think about? We were hoping it would come out early this year, and now it seems like early to mid next year.
I mean, my expectations for it are just instantly lowered. When a company tries to like diversify or new company enters the market, I initially get excited, but over time I'm getting less and less excited each time it happens, because it's like every time it's like, ooh,
like whether it's ARC or NVIDIA making CPUs, it's like
NVIDIA might finally start releasing CPUs, or APUs on Windows, and I'm sure it'll happen, but my expectations at this point are low.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens with this. I was always told, and of course leaked months ago, if not a year ago, 5070 performance. I mean, Strix Halo, depending on the TDP, is already... I mean, I've benchmarked it, actually. I've got Strix Halo in 32 compute units, only 20% weaker than a desktop 4060, meaning laptop 4060. In my testing, the 32 compute unit model that's cut down is around there. So certainly the full 40 compute unit model with enough power is competing with the 4070 or 5070 laptop editions. Probably 4070, but if this is just 5070, I don't know. It'll be weird if this comes out like a year or a year and a half after Strix Halo, and it's like 30% faster and maybe has some software issues. I don't know, it's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, this is one of those things where it's like, I don't know. I almost hope they have its successor in development, and this just doesn't come out, depending on how delayed it is.
Mm-hmm. And again, this is why they've done Digits. Digits allows them to sell what would be in a $2,000 laptop in a $3,000 mini PC without any of the screens or trimmings that a laptop requires. So it's a way for them to milk the AI market right now, this Project Digits thing. But, you know, at the same time, I think I remember when that came out, they basically said it has no operating system support. It's just for AI. And that tells you it's probably because they can't get it to work doing anything else.
Yeah.
Alrighty, let us now move on to the final story of this episode with story number 6. Intel earnings, networking spinoffs, and Diamond Rapids lacking hyperthreading. A bunch of things in a whole Intel, what do I want to say? Whole Intel stew here. First one is a quote from Intel CEO Liputan. Our operating performance demonstrates the initial progress we are making to improve our execution and drive greater efficiency. We are laser focused on strengthening our core product portfolio and our AI roadmap to better serve customers. We are also taking the actions needed to build a more financially disciplined foundry. It's going to take time, but we see clear opportunities to enhance our competitive position, improve our profitability, and create long-term shareholder value. Now, going from Reuters, Intel is going to end the year with a workforce that is over a fifth smaller than last year. It said on Thursday, and the new CEO Liputan presented a blueprint for the most cost-disciplined and streamlined chipmaker that would issue no more blank checks to any projects. Like that sound. The job cuts, a majority of which have been completed already, are part of an effort by Tan since he took the helm in March to turn around the storied US chipmaker. Intel has divested businesses, laid off employees, and redirected resources. Now quoting from CRM, in a memo to customers, Intel says it will spin off its network and edge group into a standalone business that is focused exclusively on delivering leading silicon solutions for critical communications, enterprise networking, and Ethernet connectivity infrastructure. And then finally, a quote here from Bionic Squash on Twitter. Doesn't leak that often. He's gotten a few things wrong, but things like this, I find him, he's usually right. Saying Diamond Rapids doesn't have SMT. Now, to be clear, this is not really new. I leaked that Diamond Rapids wouldn't have SMT or hyperthreading 2 years ago, everybody. So I would like maybe some credit from any journalists once in a while. But here's the problem. The leaks coming out about this are also suggesting it will use Panther Cove, which I guess I suggested it might use a Lion Cove Plus. But the problem is Lion Cove kind of sucks. And 2 years ago, I was thinking Lion Cove and Arrow Lake would be good. And so... yeah, let's get back to summarizing everything here with the final part of the write-up. After a deluge of AMD leaks and another story of Nvidia stumbles, we now have another story of Intel's continued downfall. Let's start with earnings. They were bad. Margin in client, Intel's saving grace in past years has dropped again. That's laptop, of course, everybody, and stuff like that. Margin in server grew to 16%, but that is truly a pathetic amount of margin in a segment that should have be a real cash cow with like 50% or more margins like AMD. And Intel's fabs with Pat's maniacal expansion projects being the albatross around their neck continue to hemorrhage money, all combining into another quarter with a net loss. Liputan continues to do his best to save Intel from Pat Gelsinger's legacy. We touch on insane spending on fabs when Intel makes their best products at TSMC. Right, yeah, great fab spending, and then you make everything at TSMC. But let's not also forget that Pat's hiring spree just resulted in a ton of layoffs and even the gutting of their core CPU and AI teams, as we covered with the killing of Royal Core. In AI, Intel continued canceling products until they missed the boat completely. Now they've even have to sell off their networking, just as Nvidia is selling rack-scale GPU nodes built on the Mellanox technology, and AMD is looking to do the same with their CDNA 4 and Pensando networking. And CPU, after we were told Lion Cove and client CPUs lack SMT because it's not needed there, Granite Rapids version of the core has it because SMT is needed for server. Right? And this is important. Like Granite Rapids, the Lion Cove iteration, I guess it's not Lion Cove, I believe Granite Rapids uses a variant of what Meteor Lake has, so that would explain. So was that Redwood Cove? Yeah, it uses Redwood Cove, plus that explains why they still at SMT. But then I always heard maybe they'll bring back SMT. I had Intel sources tell me, oh, there's a chance. We were hoping to bring back SMT with Diamond Rapids. High Yield, when he was on Broken Silicon, said he heard from people at a show behind the scenes that they were trying to bring it back. If this ends up true, though, that they're not, I want someone to explain to me how Intel's going to have a 256 core Panther Cove, which I'm told by all accounts recently, by the way. I don't know if I should put this in a leak or not right now, but I've heard that Panther is not expected to have a crazy IPC uplift, that it's all about Nova Lake. Heard this before though. But so assuming it's like a less than 10% uplift in performance per core, someone explained to me how Arrow Lake plus 10% performance, 256 cores, but only 256 threads, is going to be AMD's Venice, 256 cores, 512 threads, like 20% clock speed uplift over Zen 5, and at least a 10% IPC increase over Zen 5, maybe 15%. AMD is already ahead, and now they're going to go from 192 cores to 256. Intel's going to go from, 128 to 256, but not have hyper-threading this time.
Yeah.
So the same amount of threads as the previous gen, by the way. AMD is going to increase clocks 20%, Intel probably 5%. AMD is going to increase IPC 10 to 15%, Intel less than 10.
I'm skeptical.
I don't know how Intel doesn't lose the rest of their server market share next gen.
Yeah, I mean, all I can hope is that it's a big ship that's going to be somewhat slow to correct. That obviously, to some extent, has to be true, but the server market isn't also a slow ship, so this could be a decade, even if things go well for Intel going forward, a decade of Intel really being on the back foot in server.
Yeah.
If not more. I don't know.
Which I don't know
how long those contracts are.
The chart handy, but this has been making the rounds in a lot of PC hardware forums and discussion boards where it just shows here's AMD's server market share at the bottom, here's Intel's, and they're just like this. In the past 2 years, it's gone. And they're almost now. I mean, AMD is going to have double the threads and higher IPC next gen, it seems, compared to Intel. And it's, again, the point of Diamond Rapids was it's supposed to have some early version of rentable units. Now it doesn't have that, and it doesn't have hyper-threading, apparently. Hopefully these reports are wrong. Hopefully it will get hyper-threading back. But wow.
Yeah. I don't know.
What do you think? Anything else? Anything else to think about?
Not much to add about Diamond Rapids other than, wow, don't know how you compete, Intel.
CRCV writes in and says, hi, Tom. In the last podcast, you mentioned that Intel was losing ground for laptops for business. I can humbly give you another testimony at my location. Right now, the IT department is validating AMD-powered Lenovo laptops as the new standard, not an option. We're switching to AMD, and it will be the first time we've done so ever. We are a European TSO, so we're in energy, just to give you context on the kind of company we are. Yeah, I mean, again, I hear people go why isn't AMD more dominant in business laptops? It's because of longstanding contracts, but the fact that I heard some guests on the show say that their companies finally got some laptops with Zen 2, and this was crazy. It's going to trickle, and then it's going to be a deluge of the switchover, and it seems like it's starting to happen here.
Oh, yeah. I mean, once again, like we talked about, it doesn't always make sense to switch, because business laptops, Intel serves the purpose is fine, but once those new contracts are in, it's going to be bad for Intel.
Yeah, I will say I've heard from an OEM source over the weekend as well that Lunar Lake is very popular, though. So we'll see. I still think there's some ground to be held in client, assuming Panther Lake is a solid improvement for laptop. Fortunately, probably not in server. Carbon Cry writes and says, Tom, the chief Intel basher of the Moore's Laws of Discord, have come to their defense. You said you knew who would complain, but I doubt you knew it would be me when in Broken Silicon 318 you discussed the rumors of 18A being curtailed early for a focus on boarding external customers to 14A. Yeah, and I said it sounded a lot like Intel 4 and 3, like what happened before, where they said they were just moving to the next node quickly, and then that didn't get them any customers. It says, but this is what people should have expected. Can still mean Intel is doing well. See, there are supposedly some customers on 18A. That means 18A succeeded as a foundry pilot. It was never going to be a standard foundry node. If it does its job as a pilot and proves customers that Intel can make their chips, unless Intel foundry processing systems cut their teeth, that is the best it could have probably been. Tom, let Litboo cook.
I'm letting Litboo cook, but I think letting him cook is going to look bad for a while. And
it feels like he's being forced to use an easy bake oven.
And I am worried that he's going to be a hatchet CEO. We'll see. I mean, to some extent, he has to be, but
yeah,
I hope it's not a complete disassembly of Intel.
Yeah, I think Carbon brings up a good point, though, is that all 18A could ever be is a test case where they put in chips and see if they get back what they wanted for the next node, because that takes years to test the node anyways. And so by the time you get to the end, you probably move them over to the next one. I think it's a fair point from Carbon Cry. Elevite writes in and says, let me see here. Let's do this one quick. Let's do both questions. Did you hear anything newsworthy regarding Raptor Lake instabilities? Firefox is tracking heat waves by localizing increased RPL. Crash reports coming in. Yeah, look, I mean, I think me and you talked about this recently. I've heard it's getting worse again, and we thought it might. You know, the Band-Aids came out. They nerfed Raptor Lake performance to try to bring stability, but ultimately the design is not stable. Ultimately, overtime voltage will cook the ring bus. It has too many cores on the ring bus for what Alder Lake was designed to have, and it was a rushed product. And so if you put a Band-Aid on a Syrian Loon, maybe the death rate goes down for a while, but eventually if the bleeding continues, what you're going to do is have all of these chips that had damage to them stop breaking for a few months, and then they'll start breaking again.
Breaking. Yeah.
So yeah, I basically hear that's what's going on. Elvite writes in again and says, hi, Tom. So far, I understood rentable units allowing cores to dynamically switch between 1 P core or 4 E cores. This would solve Intel's problems that they can't have the right ratio of P and E cores for a wide range of workloads. But rentable units would come at a complexity cost, right? I mean, rentable unit core would require more die space than a pure P or pure E core. So RUs by itself would not give you any IPC improvements that would have come from the microarchitecture itself. And Intel could just build an equally fast P core without rentable units if they wanted to, right? Is that just maybe what they're doing? Well, so here's what I will say. Let's say you have a product that is using 6 threads. Most products probably just use 6 or less threads. The fact that you have like 6 out of 8 threads in Arrow Lake being used and then all these E cores basically doing nothing is a waste of die space too. You know, you're still wasting space that way, and you're wasting energy making them enabled when they could all be doing like one thing, I'd say, or doing less and turning themselves off. So I would just say I don't necessarily buy into that unless you think that you need 24 cores in a product. I don't think you do for consumers. You know, if you have a 24 thread product and half of the threads turn into like 3 cores, but that still makes it like 3 plus 6. I still think that's far more than enough cores for most workloads. And it's only if you think you need all of this maximum multi-threading that it doesn't make as much sense. And all I can say is I talked to the people who were working on rentable units at Intel, the people that Pat gutted, and they seem to think rentable units were essential to getting to 2 to 3 times IPC of what we have now over the next 5 or 6 years. And now that's not going to happen.
Well, it definitely seems like Intel has really nothing to go with for the next few years. So
hopefully Nova Lake's good. Let us now move on to the final wrap-up. Of course, these are the stories that don't deserve their own full discussion, but, you know, at least deserve a mention. I'm not really going to go into this much. Nova Lake core counts apparently leaked again. I feel like every week we have a Nova Lake core count leak. Yes, it is 52, 16P, 32E, 4 LPE. In other words, what we leaked years ago, everybody. But it's more and more people apparently are reading our leaks from years ago.
LPE? Hell yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. I wish it was LP cores so they could just be used for everything, but it is what it is. Also, I don't know if you saw this, Dan, but the 4090 competitor 7950 XTX cooler leaked, and yes, it is a massive, like 4090 sized cooler. AMD did design one, and this backs up stuff that I leaked about RDNA 3. That yes, they ended up losing to the 4090, but they did. They did have a design for pushing it to like 3.12 gigahertz with, and 450 watts, and there's your proof. They designed the cooler for it. They just decided it didn't make sense to push it to 450 watts to like tie the 4090 but lose ray tracing, not have as good DLSS. It made more sense to keep it a $1,000 product. Zen 5 Threadripper sets records. It did so drawing apparently 948 watts, running 5 gigahertz on 96 threads. Again, don't have much to say.
A cool 950 watts.
Yes, a very cool. AMD confirms TSMC is 20% more expensive than in the US than it is in Taiwan. Then says, but they think it's worth it. I don't know. I just think that's worth pointing out. You do have the TSMC fabs in the United States for really just domestic security, right? For the West. But it's not going to bring down any costs bringing it to America, people. It's anything made here is
labor's more expensive here.
And they're just not, the footprint is. Think about all of the supply chain and little things built to support that model. It's just not the same. Xbox layoffs, quoting, let's see here, for Autumn Mitchell, ZeniMax Media Senior QA Tester. Some people were here for 15 years and just got cut out, making it so that people have to rush to type a goodbye message into their Slack to their colleagues that they've been working with on various projects before they're pushed out the door that have been making your corporation money for 15 years. This just seems disgusting. It's disgusting. If I could get any message to an executive right now, it'd be review this process because it's not normal and it's not okay. So yeah, I mean, I've got and then Microsoft's laying off 15,000 employees so far in 2025, including a large round of 9,000 in July. So just in general, tons of layoffs at Microsoft and tons of layoffs at their Xbox Studios. And that's the thing, again, we have Xbox Magnus. I mean, I'm told it's going to come out, but I continue to wonder if they're going to kill that at the last minute. I mean, so everyone knows, there was a bespoke Xbox handheld APU that was going to be backwards compatible and actually used ARM cores. And they've canceled that in favor of putting a sticker on Asus products. I guess I don't think they'll do that now because it shares the die. That's the only thing that's saving this, is it shares the die with dedicated graphics.
Oh yeah, there's there's less of a reason to kill it, at least because of that.
It makes you wonder though, will this show up as like a Medusa Halo like thing? I don't know.
Who knows? Yeah,
I could see it being a mid-range gaming laptop, Xbox laptop edition.
Ooh, boy.
Let's see. So this is interesting. I will quote this from WCCF Tech about Switch to OLED. A Switch to OLED model may have already been prototyped, as the alleged mid-frame of this system is available for purchase on a Chinese marketplace. As spotted on the Gaming Leak subreddit, a user on Zhengyu, hope I said that right, China's second largest second-hand market, is selling the mid-frames of an alleged Switch 2 OLED. There's nothing that indicates if these are really production samples for a future model or if it was some canceled version of what they were considering. At the very least, they could indicate that more color variants for the new generation of a Nintendo system are being prototyped and be coming at a later date. I'm just combining this with a confirmation from Randy Pitchford that Borderlands 2 will be 30 frames per second on Switch 2 with some dips. I don't know. I continue to think that we're just going to get a Switch 2 OLED, and I think we're going to get that in 2 years. I don't think they're going to wait for that thing. I think that's going to come out. It's going to have VRR in the dock. It's going to be a more attractive price, at least for what you're getting. And it'll have all of its kinks worked out. I think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then, although I will say this, I did get my girlfriend a Switch 2. Saw it in stock. Got her it. So you'll hear my full opinions on the Switch 2 soon as well. And then finally, Battlefield 6 trailer.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
I'm very excited. It looks good. I mean, granted, it's the trailer for the campaign, so all you can really say is, yes,
It is
the
a
graphics
campaign.
look very good.
Yeah.
Did you watch the trailer yet?
Yeah.
Does it look kind of like a Civil War vibe?
Yeah, that's what I got from it.
I think that's awesome. I just hope it involves other countries too, than like different countries inside the United States fighting them. That'd be interesting. But yeah, so we love Battlefield 6. We're glad there hasn't been a Battlefield since 2042, as they actually took their time to make a good game. I would suggest Call of Duty should probably move to an off-year cycle, by the way, just like Battlefield is moving to a once every 3 years.
Both of them need to be careful, because like I could see Battlefield and Call of Duty dying off if they're not careful.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why they're taking so long to launch this game. So yeah. I think I'll say this too. Some leaks came out about Battlefield 6. It's not in the document the script, but that supposedly there will be a battle royale, but it's not planned to come out until like half a year later or so. That's so they can nail the campaign, then the multiplayer, then that.
And if the battle royale modes can be fun, so rooting for that to be good.
And to be honest, we could use a good modern shooter one. Call of Duty's gone uncontested for a while, and you can't play it because it's nothing but hackers. So I would really like a competitor to that.
Yeah.
XE writes in, final reader mail. What are your thoughts on RDNA 4 motherboard powered 75-watt models? As far as I know, the last time AMD released a card that fits this spec was the RX 6400, and I'm sure something based on RDNA 4 could do much better than that. People have managed with undervolting to bring the 9060 XT down to 130 watts without losing any performance, which, by the way, is the same power draw as a 5050. So couldn't they have some cut-down version of that be brought to 75 watts? Though the question has to be asked, is it even worth it? How many people are still bringing second life to old Dell Optiplexes? Does this yield rate even justify such a cut down? Of course, what about the price? Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting because the 9060 XT has 32 compute units. If they had a 28 compute unit model clocked lower to 75 watts, I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I would just wonder how cheap it would be. Like if they could get that below 200, I don't know if that's...
If it was 8 gigabytes, it needs to be 199 at most.
Yeah,
I would love it. You know, I just don't know if the cost is justified there. But it would be really cool if we could have something that competes with the 3056 gigabyte and isn't the biggest bucket of crap on earth. Like a solid $180, 30% weaker than the 9060 XT, only 8 gigabytes, but it's like 180. And it's like, hey, don't buy that 3056 gigabyte, buy this. I think it'd be useful. But again, I don't know if it really makes sense. I mean, AMD is moving to APUs in that direction, and I'm pretty sure they do have. I know that some version of Medusa APUs are going to be on AM5, just so everyone knows. So like, I almost think like that could come out in less than a year. So I kind of think that's kind of what they're going to go for.
Yeah.
All right, Dan, that is going to do it for this rather packed episode that I'm surprised we got through in a reasonable amount of time. I thought this was going to be a 2-hour one, but there's a very set amount of subjects, not endless reader mails, although we'd appreciate more reader mail. Remember, you can submit them if you join us on Patreon at the proper tiers. Before I shell Dan, any last words? I'm falling asleep. I don't know why.
I decided I was going to bring this up. You said I should do it at the beginning of the episode, but
we forgot to.
But I didn't think to, so I'll just do it at the end here. So I've noticed over the past couple months and I wasn't ever planning on really talking about it, but yes, people, I lost a lot of weight. I don't have cancer. I'm not taking 10,000 milligrams of Ozempic a day or something. I just stopped eating as much, and I walk/run/elliptical a lot. That's how I lost the weight. I didn't lose half my weight in 2 months like some of the comments seem to think.
Guys, you only look at his face, so you didn't see that Dan's been losing weight for
about
a year and a half.
Yeah, and about 3 months ago, it really all started coming off of my face, it seems like. Clip that. So when people started noticing was I noticed in the comments was probably around the last like 20 or so pounds of over 100 pounds of weight that I lost. So no, I didn't lose 150 pounds in 3 months. You noticed I lost like 20 pounds ish in about 3 months, I think, which
And the rest of the weight came
is
over
still
a year
pretty
and a half.
fast, but it's not insane. Okay, that's all. You don't need to do like weird speculation of how I lost weight anymore. Just move
not
more.
eating too much, which is actually possible. Yeah, the only thing I would add to this is something annoying me about seeing those comments, like, Zempic. And it's like, I don't want to be harsh, but some of you realize you can lose weight and accomplish things just by trying to do it. Like, you don't need a drug or cancer or to be something wrong with you. Like, guys, I remember I lost after college. I never got, I would say, really fat, but yeah, it's still, I'd say I was overweight for what I should be.
I got fat. I probably shouldn't have been as much as I was.
But like, I lost this is when I worked at General Motors. I lost, I want to say I lost 40 pounds over 6 months, or maybe a little more than that. It's probably 40 pounds over 6 months. And I did that by eating slightly less. And that's it. I didn't even work out much. Like, I just dinner pasta with chicken thighs, a normal portion of pasta, 2 instead of 3 chicken thighs. I didn't even go crazy, and I just didn't drink too much. It's like, guys, you can accomplish a healthy body if you just eat a little less every day for 6 months. I have to say it because something about the Ozempic comments made me think that people think it's not even possible to do things anymore unless you pay someone to do it for you. That is not true. You can do it. Look at Dan. He's proof. He's right there. And
I will also just add, if somebody is on Ozempic, you don't need to be like a dick to them about it.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need
you don't need to assume it, and you don't need to be a giant asshole. And it all comes, again, I think comes from this place. Well, if I had more money, I could afford to be skinny. No, stop eating. Then you will. All right?
Actually costs,
and Dan did it. Dan
in some ways it costs less. So,
well, a lot less, actually, if you think about it.
Unless you're doing the diets that it's like, well, in order to lose weight, I have to cut calories. And to cut calories, I have to only eat 2 pounds of steak a day. Because I'm not on the carnivore. I'm not on the carnivore diet. I eat a normal diet. It's just less.
But again,
I don't know what else to add.
Dan is proof. He lost the weight through hard work. You can lose it through hard work. It's not because you can't buy your way to it.
Yeah.
You can just work out and eat less, and you will become happier and healthier, and you can do it. You can do it. I've done it. Dan's done it. You can do it. Okay, everybody? Pet peeve of mine.
Do it.
All right. Perfect. Well, on that note, thank you for watching this computer hardware summer advice podcast. Weight loss podcast.
Well, not gains podcast. I've made no gains really.
No gains. The opposite of gains. We appreciate all of you who watch and who listen. Please remember to like the video, to share the video, to comment down below. I'm sure there will be some comments for this episode. And then also make sure you're subscribed to the Moore's Law Z YouTube channel, please. I mean, that really helps the algorithm. It does help our stuff get recommended more. So do that. And then turn on the bell button for notifications. Again, there's going to be a lot more RDNA 5 and PlayStation and Xbox leaks coming out in the coming months. So you're not going to miss them. I'm already finalizing one right now. Mm-hmm. And then also make sure you subscribe to Broken Silicon, your podcast app of choice. Give us a review on it and set it to auto download every week. And then, consider joining us on Patreon. A new die shrink just came out with an interview with the Stop Killing Games guy. I actually thought it was Ross, I should say. He has a name. I actually thought it was a really good interview that made you understand the issue and what they're trying to accomplish. And there's bonus episodes that come out of die shrinks that come out every month. No ads. Sometimes they're just like bonus videos, full Broken Silicon length podcasts that go into deep dives that we know wouldn't get clicks on YouTube, but we know if you're an enthusiast, you would want to listen to it. So please, even just $2.56, 256-bit tier gets you access to all of those die shrinks, asking guest questions in the Discord. And I urge you to get you access to more. We cannot do this without our patrons. It is like the bare minimum where we know, okay, we can pay our bills every month because at least we have this money from Patreon, even if all of our sponsors decide to go crazy, which some have recently. All right, I'm starting to ramble. I barely made it through the wrap-up without constantly stuttering for some reason. I'm exhausted. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
There, I just had a stroke right there. Goodbye, everybody. This podcast was brought to you by the YouTube channel and website Moore's Law is Dead. Moore's Law is Dead and Broken Silicon are trademarks of their creator, Tom. That guy is me, and I am indeed the creator, editor, writer, and showrunner of Moore's Law is Dead podcasts, videos, articles, and other media. However, it's not just me. Moore's Law is Dead is a team, with Broken Silicon co-hosted by my brother Dan, audio editing by Gerard Cortez, renders being done by the industrial designer Jean-Philippe Clermont, and special assistance is also provided by Carmen Cry and Carrie Nosugad as well. Find all of our information at www.mooreslawsdead.com on the About/Support page in the event you do want to hire me for consulting work, hire Gerard for audio work, hire Jean-Philippe for industrial design work, or you're interested in working with Carbon Cry or Carrie Nosugada as well. You can also find our long-term sponsors on that page if you want to show them some love for putting food on our tables. Or you can also mail us some love. You can send letters or hardware donations to the following address: Moore's Law is Dead, P.O. Box 60632 in Nashville, Tennessee, zip code 37206. Although, to be honest, the best way to show Moore's Law is Dead some love is to support us on Patreon. Patrons are what makes Moore's Law is Dead content truly possible. Every month, and really every day, depending on who you're talking about, me, Gerard, Dan, and Jean-Philippe are working tirelessly to provide a steady stream of content that we could not keep doing unless we knew the work was possible without being reliant on sponsors dictating every little thing we put out. Don't get us wrong. We love our sponsors, but we love directly working for you, our fans, much more. If you have any extra money, even a couple free dollars a month, consider supporting us directly on Patreon. Those couple of monthly dollars will get you access to the exclusive podcast Die Shrink, voting on subjects of future podcast episodes, the ability to ask guest questions, and of course, access to the Moore's Law is Dead Discord full of like-minded people who I am sure would love to meet you. I am one of them. Additionally, higher tiers get access to early, ad-free episodes of Broken Silicon, the ability to ask questions in all Broken Silicon episodes and Loose Ends live streams ahead of the recording, and the entire back catalog of Moore's Law is Dead podcasts, in addition to having thanks in the credits of videos and podcasts depending on the tier, with other perks available as well. And hey, if you cannot afford to support us directly every month, please do share Moore's Law is Dead videos and podcasts with friends and family, and on social media and websites like Reddit, and give Broken Silicon a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast app of choice. All of this does really help us so much. But like I said, this podcast would not be possible without the patrons directly providing predictable and reliable support every month. And so now it is time to give a personal thanks to the greatest of the fans. The following supporters are at the 10 gigahertz or higher supported levels: Brad Medlin, Drita Fool, Z-Jizz, Daniel D, Deke, Nicholas Buckner, Aaron Close, Jan Ranner, Daniel High, MJB1, Toka, GZ Ziggy, SNES Chalmers, Compressed AI Blocks, Jerem Ferrier, Velkamalev, Jensen Wang, Gregor Sacker, Sarcastro, Chris Trish, Evan Dingle, Hal Booma, Shredburb, Sammy Malas, The Boss Haas, Tommy, Chrysanthenos, Jonathan, Rezink, Amiable Chief, Jake Dude 23, Jake Martin, I Should, Zlicky, Gamers Unite, Meat and Pork, Ian Clifford, Tim Robb, Travis Gooding, Mad, Zootsu Taylor, Greg, Michael McGee, Patty Cake, Stephen Coates, Mark Mitchell, James Anderson, Mark Raidmaker, Cole Addict, Cameron, Henry Chang, Wesley Sager, Win Wang, Michelle Pell, Hexapuma, Original Ari, Teak Autumn, Windstar, Corey Leonard, James I. Raider, Little Germany, Shay, Milton, Brett Jones, Chuck Liddon, Mac Daffy, Stephen Dick, John Swin, Justin Bussell, Alston Haggerty, Joe Foot, Brian Scanlon, Harlan, Jensen Angima, Joseph Kelly, Slushbaugh, Him, Segung, Tails 2299, Brian Wright, Sisfo 771, The Forbidden Juice, RB Racer, Thalo 215, Alex Vega, Michael Cozy, Crystal Joe, Albert Gun, Keekum, Solarize 80, 37 by 73, Sprutnik, Brian P, Whodat 42, Cornster 671, Penta Winta, Hal Richard, Steak Farm Snake, Omega Doge, John Wick, Boomstick, Mr. Tiger, Hugo, Ander Kiwi, Penguins Love AI, AI Soldier 789, Porcelain Oats, Curry King 3, Nick Zeusmania, Fred Berger, Smash Axley, Rye Hill, Cheap Bowls, Sheriff Flatfee, Kerem Al-Masri, Kevin Kuntz, Armin Vakatura, Manolis Ragkusis, Callan Reichel, Jonathan Harris, Elusive Man, Kainush Kagani, Johnny Trans, Zubar Ahmed, Sean Henry, Bjorn Toft, and Angel of Cake. And of course, thank you to Sahara for the music.